about bringing some Instagram people on. Let's see. I'll try to get my man on right now. Today I'm swamped. Thanks for the invite. All right. What's up, everybody? Today we got Sam back. He jumped out yesterday. He had a computer issue, and then we ended the show. But he's back. Let's continue where we left off. We were talking about advertising online, pretty much, like how it takes data to understand who to advertise to, right? And I think where we left off, I don't know where we left off. I don't remember.
Left at the point where we were discussing about your premium ads, stuff that folks will come to you, or you would offer to them for a specific price for X amount of time, X amount of views, X, whatever it be. And then you have your display network stuff, the stuff that just bidders out there on the in the universe just bid for that space based on whatever your audience would be, and information that you share to say that, hey, this is my audience, and they go and buy that audience.
So if you, all right, I'm trying on the Instagram, you have to look on YouTube because you can't see Sam, you only see me. But if you got questions, so for companies like Sling, right? How do they set their pricing? Because one thing I've always kind of wanted to understand more is what are the numbers that change the amount you can charge, right? Because I've known companies that get less than 10,000 views a month and charge $100 per ad. And I've known companies that get 10,000 views a month and charge $1,000 for an ad. So how does that normally work out? What would you say? What type of advice?
That's an excellent question. There's no sweet spot, and there's no 2-second answer to something like that. That right there is like a university class.
yeah. No, that makes sense.
It's serious business. I'll give you an example. This is like, us being who we are. This is one that I take to heart, seriously. The guy who started Jet Magazine, Jet Magazine and Ebony Magazine and all that. Yep. When that guy started his business, he wasn't getting any advertisers, and he was hitting I think 4 or 5 million people.
Whoa!
You know what I mean? He was hitting millions of people, and advertisers go, out of your audience, how much of this am I going to make from them, right? Yeah. And he had the numbers in terms of the audience size, but he didn't have, advertisers didn't believe that his audience would pay for a certain thing. So you got to put a value on your audience. I'll give you an example. We're, in the Bronx, right? You have your Riverdale, and you have your South Bronx.
Yeah.
As an advertiser, let's say I was I don't know, Acura.
Yeah.
Acura is going to pay a certain amount for maybe a Riverdale versus the South Bronx. Although that may change in 5 or 10 years, but
yeah. But you're basically saying, okay, and it definitely makes sense. If you believe this audience can pay for your product, it's more valuable to you. So you got to kind of hit every metric. So from yesterday, we were saying that there's demographics. So like, for instance, with the podcast, we saw it was 72% women, New York, this, that, right? But then there's economic levels too that you want to make sure you hit. And then certain areas, and that's where Facebook advertising is pretty good. Certain areas, and I guess Google does it too. Certain areas you can target because they make that kind of money to be able to live in that area, right? If they live in that area, they have to be able to afford that area.
That's right. By zip code, yeah. Like if you were on the West Side Highway, driving on the West Side Highway, and you get further down towards Battery Park, and you see all the Trump buildings. Mm-hmm. Imagine someone who wanted to hit that area. They're going to pay a lot of money to hit that area, and that has its own zip code. You know what I mean? Versus, let's say someone wanted to hit up, I don't know, some not area like that. Where people don't have jobs. It's going to be a different audience. You know what I mean? And there's you probably know demographics versus psychographics are two things that are changing now.
Explain that, because I know most people don't understand that.
About what are we? I want to say like in 2009, 2010, I was explaining to folks about this because data was starting to be, all out there and you're able to collect that stuff. And I'm explaining to people, folks that are older than me, making a lot more money than me, and all this stuff. And I'm trying to explain to them, hey, forget about demographics. Forget about that. Like use it, yeah, but don't use it as your gold standard. Go to psychographics. What's that mean? You want to hit, like we were just talking about, you want to hit a town or a city. And in this town, there's a railroad that goes right through the middle. On this side of town, people over here make a certain amount of money. On this side of town, people make a certain amount of money, but they're all white.
Yeah.
Right? We will hit up an Anglo, community or an audience, and they're going to make a certain amount of money. Well, in this town over here, they're more blue collar, and on this side, they're white collar. Like we're just,
Go ahead.
right? But they're in that like 30, 40 age range. 2 kids, they have a house, truck, and house, car, and all that. On this side, they have 2 cars. One's a BMW, and the other one's an Acura. On this side, one's a truck, and maybe some Ford Escort or something like that, right? And it's the psychographic. Over here, they listen to classical music. On the other side, they listen to country western. Like it's the psychographic. Although they are the same demographic, up here they're differently. They're completely different. They think different. They act different. Things of that nature. That's how I explain the psychographic versus the demographic.
The big example of that is the Trump victory in whatever it was, 2006, no, whatever. The Trump victory was won because they used psychographics, right? They started to look at how people that would normally like support a person like this, how they acted, right?
Mm-hmm.
What type of things they did and reacted to. And then they use that information over and over on Facebook specifically, and they targeted people that like the same thing. So one stat was like, I think it was like a crazy number, like 80-something% of Jeep car owners were like supporting of Republicans and people like Trump. And they just used that to keep targeting. I think the number was like they got hundreds of thousands of extra votes just by doing that,
Wow.
Yeah. There was a good there's a Dateline where it was breaking it all down on the Cambridge Analytica stuff.
Okay.
And they're all about psychographics, like you're saying. So yeah, definitely. But psychographics, how do you collect psychographics right now?
Right now it's going to be tough because of GDPR that was out, and now recently in January with CCPA, and now with Apple is no longer going to be sharing their data, their cookie data. Google Chrome now is going to be keeping their data. Firefox just announced also that they're going to be limiting cookie data. So what the way to collect psychographic information is, it's very difficult, and you get a very small percentage of that whole universe. Is folks that are going to certain content, interacting with that content, you have these forums or what have you. I forgot the name at the moment. Surveys and questionnaires, and you store that information on a cookie, and you just identified that person to a T. What they like, what they what they want to do, their goals in life, anything you put in there, and that gets stored on this little cookie. Fortunately, if they clear their browser, you lose all that information. Not a lot of people know how to play with the settings in their browsers. But now that's changed. There's going to be a brand new game now coming out.
Themselves, right? So you don't got to be savvy. You just got to, make sure that you are using the right browser, because if you're using the wrong browser, they're going to just be collecting on you, right?
Yeah, it's going to be a different world for sure. I mean, definitely user experience.
Go then now? Would you say like surveys?
I'm sorry, one more time?
Would you say surveys are the way to collect psychographic data now?
Surveys and account profiles. So like if you had let's say you had Miguel Sanchez, .com, right? Last name Sanchez, right? Yeah.
Miguel Sanchez.com. That's my name is a little too popular for that.
Well, let's just say you had your website, MiguelSanchez.com, and you sold luxury products, goods, luxury, consumer goods, shirts, t-shirts, bags, pants, that type of stuff. you're gearing towards a certain community or a certain audience. And what you can do is for them to go to your site, they can see anonymously, they can see certain stuff, but to interact with your site, maybe to go past certain pages or add to the cart, they have to log on. And when they log on, then they'll have a profile. And then folks who make X amount of money tend to look at this. Folks that are from this place tend to look at this. Lifetime value of $10,000 tend to look at these types of things.
This makes me think, though, that idea is good for protecting data, but it also makes the current juggernauts more powerful, because now the only people that are going to have that data are Facebook and Google, and they're going to be the only ones that can use it. And you're going to have to pay them to use that data. You're not even going to know your own data unless you go through them. You
have to go for advertising, correct?
Yeah.
If advertising hit those folks up, you're going to have to hit up. Like a lot of folks are putting on their money on on non-Facebook alternatives, Facebook alternatives. But Facebook is where you collect, man, all that geo data, demographic data, psychographic data. People are liking, they're doing content,
Does Facebook now still let you pull it out? Like, I know after the Cambridge Analytica stuff, they kind of like limited what you can do. Do you know if they still let you get that data yourself as your?
You have to select it. You have to select your audience that you want to hit. So when you go into your screen
Facebook though, right? It's not like you could pull that information out and use it on Google. You only are able.
You can't extract that data anywhere. You can't extract that. That's their data.
That makes them so much more powerful, right? Yeah, because they're the only ones that know everything.
Yeah, they know everything, man.
As much as them about your own audience.
Man, they watched your kids grow up.
Yeah,
they watch you grow up. They know everything, man. That's what I'm telling. That TikTok stuff is that's dictatorship. I won't say dictator, more like totalitarian China, man. That has your information, and your kids are on there doing the crazies, and they got all of that information. I don't have no kids, but if I did, there'd be no TikTok in the house.
I mean, my son, he's being so creative on TikTok. It's crazy. It's almost like, you know what, though? The one thing is he's too young to have a phone number. So I don't know how much they can track him, but who knows? I mean, I'd rather him be getting that experience of being creative like that than worried about his data, because he's not really moving around much, and so it's like, especially right now. So I don't know. I'm like on this middle ground of privacy, yes, but like at what limit, right? Like, do you want to stop the future based on like being private? Like, I think if there was a way for us to say, look, we own our data, we hold it, and if you want to access it, you're gonna have to pay me. But then I get to choose who I allow to access it. That to me is the way it should go. And there's technologies that allow that. Blockchain and stuff like that can do that. It's just nobody's done it yet. And it is something I would love to work on, but I know it's going to take billions of dollars, right? But the idea is right now, everybody, like Facebook. Now Facebook has our data. Google has our data. We're using Chrome all day. They're using our data to sell advertisers, right?
Yeah, right.
We as businesses have no idea about that data. We as users have no idea about that data.
So, and they're getting creative with it, more creative with it. Just I don't know if you know about the SBA loan grant. That was you get $10,000 if you're sole proprietor or whatever, and they just push it down to $1,000 per employee now. But so a lot of companies right now, smart. Listen to this. When I heard this, they didn't come out and say that. But if I were them, I would be doing this for this one purpose. You can go to Facebook, a couple other companies too, and you sign up in their little form, kind of like the SBA grant. You put in all your information, your company, your address, how much money you make, your cost of goods sold for the year, all your information that you would never give anywhere. If you're a public company, it's out there. You're a public company, like an IBM or
you have to. It
has to be by law. But if you're like Miguel Sanchez LLC, you don't have to put that info out there. So you'll put out the form to get this loan grant from Facebook if they determine that they'll give you some of this money. So basically, they're giving you money, yes, but it's coming to a cost to you because you're giving them you know, all your information about your company. And I'm like, wait, is this Facebook financed by the government? And I'm like, nah, this is straight up Facebook. I'm like, but
And
they'll
you know they're
get
only gonna select like one out of 1,000.
huh?
You know they're only gonna select like 1 out of 1,000 companies, but it's a genius move to collect data right now. Oh man, I never.
So I'm sitting there. It's like 3 a.m, and I'm reading this, and I'm like, man, like, because everyone's hit right now, and I'm like, what? Everyone's out there stealing money. All these government officials, and all these politicians are stealing money. I'm like, how can I just get a couple dollars?
Yeah, for
And
sure.
I've seen the Facebook thing, and as I'm looking at it, reading the, what people don't do, reading the fine print. Like, wait, hold on. Let me understand this. They collect your information that you give them, and then they still decide if you get the money or not. And if you do give them the money, I mean, if you do, get the money, you get like $1,000, $5,000. I mean, so they're getting all this comforting information.
And they're probably gonna spend like a few million, sure, but they're gonna get billions of dollars worth of data. Dude,
Can you? It makes sense what I'm trying to say. When I seen this, I was like, oh my god,
that is pretty fucking genius. I'm not gonna lie. That's genius.
I talked to a friend of mine. He works for Bank of America. He's a finance director. I'm like, hey, check this out. What do you think about it? He's like, oh, that sounds good. You get money for Facebook. I'm like, no, think about it. What's going on? If he's a very smart guy.
Yeah,
and he's like, and I explained it to him, and he just lost it. He's like, wow, that's brilliant.
Yo, that is pretty crazy. Talking to people on.
Let me ask. I got a question for you. There's no right or wrong answer to this question. And I ask folks this that are in our industry, in tech, digital world, and that have half a brain, at least bare minimum. That's not. There's not many.
That's a high bar.
Let's say you have let's go back to your MiguelSanchez.com, and you're doing luxury products, right? Now you have your .com website, and you have some folks that are affiliates or even marketing channels. Let's say you have your Facebook, Google, email, okay, Google, Facebook, email, okay, and then you have some affiliates, okay, and everyone's that you're doing, your own advertisements, or the affiliates are out there doing their thing, and they're all sending traffic to your site, okay. This source, all right, this source here brings X amount of people, right, but they don't buy. This amount of people, they don't buy. This amount don't buy, and then in time, these people start buying, right? How would you, either now or just hypothetically, how would you equate? Let's say there was a sale, right? And in that sale, that conversion, this person got hit up by one of your Facebook ads, one of your Google ads, possibly an email, and maybe an affiliate, exactly in that order. Okay. Where would you, and let's say the order was $100 of revenue. Okay. One product, $100, let's just say. Who would you give credit to in that whole process? Like,
so,
$100, you give it to the last person?
I guess how it's set up, right? Because are the second and third and fourth targeted because it got hit by the first? Like how did you have all those channels to reach out to this person? You already had their info, or
you just did your ads. You just went on Google, you made ads for Google, come and get the Miguel Sanchez, pants. And you did it on Facebook, you did it on Google, you did some email, and then your affiliates were out there saying, oh, Miguel Sanchez, he's an up and coming, designer. Get these designer jeans right now. And that let's say me, for example, I was the one, I got hit by all 4 of these ads, right? Yep. Where would you give credit to and say, man, that really worked? Would you give it to the last one that converted? Would you give it to the one that opened the door?
I guess it's either the first or the last for me, because I mean, but it's all 4 really. But the big thing is, are you tracking that all 4 are one person, right? Like, is your system telling you Miguel was hit, or actually Sam was hit by 4 ads?
Yeah, you have that data.
Your
Adobe or your Google Analytics shows that, the campaign ID, the time of day, all that stuff, and it was all Sam, and he made $100. He did $100 conversion purchase. How would you allocate budget again and say that was the best way to do this?
I guess for my limited understanding, I think I would base it on whichever is the ad that people are actually converting from. So like if I said like, all right, let's say Google had 70% of my traffic, Facebook had 30% of my traffic, but Facebook, people are more buying. I see the actual conversion is coming more from Facebook. I would say, all right, let me spend more money on Facebook. That's kind of how I think about it. Am I wrong? How would you do it?
There's no right or wrong answer at all. I just like to hear folks' input on this, because this is a problem, or excuse me, a challenge. Excuse me, not a problem, a challenge that the whole industry on the planet Earth is trying to solve or get close to. We call it like attribution. Like, where do you attribute the revenue to what source? The first, the last. So we call it the starters, the closers, or somewhere in the middle, right? The part where they participated. In that
this is where I'm starting to get to this more of a branding thing than a click to convert thing, right? I think all of them are as equally as important, because they're seeing you, and they're I think it was I read somewhere, I think someone needs to see your ad like 16 times or something like that before they buy. Something like that. It's a high number. And also, as just a business developer like us, we got to call people and try to get projects. I heard it takes the same, like 16 times to really get a client on average, right? Speaking to someone, emailing them, tweeting them, LinkedIn, all that, right? It adds up. And it's like, all right, you've reached out to this person somehow 16 times, and now on average that will turn into money. So in this new world where there's a lot of attention going in the phone and this and that, right? Maybe then it's more about attributing to where your brand is being recognized the most, not really where the conversion actually happens. Because let's say I'm on Facebook all day, and then I just land on Instagram and I see the ad, but I've been, consuming your content all day on Facebook. Wouldn't it be more likely that Facebook was the better brand ambassador for me, right? Like, so I'm thinking about like that. But of course, I'm not spending advertising money yet on my own personal brand or anything right now. But the plan is to be doing that in a month at least, for one of the projects me and Cesar are actually working on. So I'm thinking about it like that. So for instance, that product is very heavily based on people who like celebrities. So I was thinking Spotify ads make sense, because celebrities, if it's like Rihanna, and after you listen to Rihanna's song, you hear an ad for this, maybe it converts better and is a better branding opportunity than on Instagram. I don't know. So these are things that we've been thinking about. And actually, after our call yesterday with you, I went back on Spotify and looked at what they allow and stuff, and it's pretty limiting, because the only test you can do is $250. That's the lowest level test you can do. Okay. So that's a pretty high level test. You know what I mean? Like, that's not something to just like do wrong, especially
know your numbers, man. You know that like if you do run that the dry run, if you will, if you do that dry run, put in that 250 and look at what your your CTR, your click-through rate will be.
Okay, because they basically said it's about 0.0012 cents per impression. But like you're saying, what's the click-through rate though?
Yeah, so like with the Spotify and the Pandoras or what have you, like those streaming solutions, they have a very low click-through rate, very, very low. So like when I work with these advertisers that are promoted on there, and then we go back to analyze like what's the return, your cost per click, when you like take like, oh, we spent X amount of dollars, how many clicks do we get? Your cost per click, like how much it costs for that one click, could be in the hundreds.
I know. So that's kind of where I'm going back to this idea of brand though, right? Because now if you remember the name, right? And you said, oh, Miguel Sanchez, I keep seeing Miguel Sanchez. Let me Google Miguel Sanchez and I click that link or let me see Miguel Sanchez on Instagram and I click there. But you remembered the name brand, right? I'm kind of trying to figure out, and it's very interesting you bring it up because I've been thinking about it too. How do you create this like analytics system that measures brand, not click through? Because click through is very.
You get that information. Click through. You'll get it from your.
I know click through is easier because there's you can see where it came from and if they converted. But branding, who knows how much they had to see you before they got to that, and that could have been the 5th site, like you said, that they saw you, and then they clicked it. But that doesn't mean that they really invested in you in that one. They just made a decision that time. But they invested in YouTube.
We could use workarounds. So what you do is on your content, okay, you'll put a tracking parameter like
like what do you mean by content? YouTube, Facebook, Instagram.
Facebook, yeah, all those, whatever, your videos, your ads for sure. If you're not putting tracking parameters on your ads, you just wasted your money. Like,
yeah. So when you put tracking parameters on your ads, what does that mean though?
Like you don't know what that traffic was from. So if you put, let's say Sam came in from your Spotify, he goes to MiguelSanchez.com. I mean, it does show, yeah, he came from Spotify, but you don't know what ad he came from.
Got it. So that by like naming the ad, so you know what the name of the ad is. So you say like blue ad, green ad. So now I know the blue ad was.
Yeah, correct. So you would have like on the link, like I'll say, click on this ad now, and you'll click Spotify, and it'll go take you to the website, right? So you go from there to the website. In the param, where it'll be like MiguelSanchez.com, param question mark, and it'll be like campaign ID equals 10% off or whatever, 10% off Spotify ad. And when they hit your website, if your folks set up your tracking properly, which is what we were discussing before, like with the stuff that I do, then you'd be able to do attribution marketing, where you can attribution modeling, where you can say like, hey, we spent X amount of money on these campaigns, these 3 campaigns, A, B, and C, but C, is the one that's bringing people into our site because we can see it on our analytics. A, B.
Everybody watching to see Sam. Jump on the YouTube. It's in my link in the bio. I know I need a better setup so you can see what we're doing here. But so we're on live on YouTube. So here I'm just trying to bring people in. So Milan, if you want to jump on, let me know. I can send you a link. Or if you want to watch with Sam advertising, jump on the YouTube.
Your biggest thing is you want to get those campaign params on there, those campaign parameters on your URLs, on all your advertising URLs, so you can understand what ads are bringing traffic to you, and also what ads are the ones converting. Because there's going to be a lot of ones that send traffic to you, but those people aren't buying or doing whatever your conversion, buying, filling out a form, whatever you consider a conversion on your site. They're coming to your site, but they may not be doing anything that you consider valuable. So you want to know, what those are. And even if they don't take something valuable, it could be a branding opportunity. It's just so they know, become aware of your brand, right? Like you mentioned him. I think everyone now knows who he is. Gary Vayner, right? Vayner Media. When this guy was coming out, I was like, who's this crazy guy talking all this nonsense? Like, cause he sounded like that guy make $1 million video ad. I'm like, who's this guy? Forgot all about him. What I mean? Then I kept seeing him, and then bam, all of a sudden the guy's doing big stuff. He got his office downtown. He got people that work for him. And I'm like, man, the guy is doing his thing. And if you listen to the guy, he's a hustler. He's just like me and you. He's just figured out, hustle.
He's putting content and putting his brand out there. That's the big
That's it. People come to him. Like brands are going to him for marketing, using his agency. I don't even think he's knocking on doors.
He's not. He says it himself. He says my agency loses every pitch we go after, but they come to us because of this, because what I do here. So that's where all this comes from. I'm like, look, people that hire me is because they know me. So why not have more people know me? And then I network the way I do and see what comes in, So it's been working. Not as good as Gary Vaynerchuk, but it's been working. So
he got in early. The guy got in early in the game, and he paid for this stuff, and he did his thing. I tried the same thing myself. I spent massive amount of money. I spent thousands of dollars trying to get my company up and running. I think we were talking about I spent thousands of dollars, thousands of bucks.
For trains?
No, not before that. For what I was doing for the attribution, like I set up my own software. I created my own software that competes with Google Analytics and Adobe, and it's cheaper and it works better.
Is it still on? I thought you said did you
I have it. It's just no one's willing to go with it. You know what I mean?
Oh, so I need to see that. I need to see it then.
Yeah.
One of the things there's actually a project in Metabronx right now that maybe you may want to talk to the guy. He's actually doing something similar. He's trying to create a new version of analytics that are more like user friendly is what the way he's explaining it, right? It's kind of like right now the data and the way they present it and what it does is very dev focused in a way. It's not as user friendly for like non technical people.
That's correct. That's correct. It's unfortunate, but it's also fortunate for people like me because that's where we make our money from. Because people are like, I don't get it. I don't have the resource to get someone to try to figure it out, and there's not a big audience, a big market of people I could tap onto, you know. So like I figured that too. I'm like, hey, I can make this more user friendly to set it up, and also make it better because these tools are not really good. Google Analytics was Urchin Analytics. They acquired them, I think, in 2006 around that time, and they really didn't make a lot of advances in that tool. Adobe Analytics, that used to be Omniture. It's like and they acquired that in 2012, I think 2012, like somewhere around that time. I forgot, or 2014, around that time. Anyhow, they acquired them, and they have never updated that tool ever since it's been made by the first startup founder. The tool has been the same.
So the one I like the best is Mixpanel. I really like Mixpanel because Mixpanel tracks throughout multiple like online software apps. It also creates this cookie for people before they even log in, and it still tracks them. And then when they actually give you their information, it lines it all up, and it's like, oh, this is how they came along. So Mixpanel, I really like that. I've used it for a while, but it's pretty expensive because once you start getting to the point where you're tracking every interaction, they charge by data point. And data points are fucking expensive. If you get to like millions of data points and you have millions and millions of people. Yeah. But Mixpanel is really good. I've used that for like the big clients that I've had. And it tracks like across the board and even tracks before people give you information, which is really cool.
You want to believe this, but Google Analytics and Adobe could actually do that same thing. The problem is that a lot of folks don't know how to do it.
Exactly. I know. It's like you create this random idea for people and then you track it over time. But it's so hard to do in Google.
Exactly.
Mixpanel was just like, oh, okay, I see it. And then it'll tell you this random ID. They came 10 times. One time they came from Instagram. One time they came from Facebook. And it's really, really pretty sick. But like I said, it only makes sense if you could afford it, which, most companies or ideas can't early on, right? Until they get funding or a lot of money in, it's really hard.
Yeah, so when you do your branding,
What's
that? What? Go ahead. Sorry to cut you off. Go ahead.
I said I haven't looked in a while. Maybe they lowered their prices.
Yeah, check them out because data's starting to get cheaper, especially with the battle between Google BigQuery, AWS, Amazon Web Services, and Microsoft Azure. Right now, they're competing hardcore, so the prices are dropping, and they also got those three got large government contracts, and that was their bread and butter to get those government contracts. Those are like 10, 20-year contracts, and then everything else on top of that's to keep the lights on. So everything else after that's profit. So their prices are starting to come down. They should be more competitive.
It makes sense that I remember when Google came into the picture and they were like 30% cheaper than Amazon. And I remember I met them at some event and they were telling me that they were hosting Snapchat. And I was like, wow. And they were like, yeah, Snapchat is spending hundreds of millions of dollars a month on all that video after video after video. So this stuff it's just an interesting time, and analytics is a big part of it, because one of the biggest reasons analytics and data is a huge opportunity right now is AI. The future of AI is all run on data.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Whoever has the most data is going to have the most powerful AIs. So right now, what you're saying, what Facebook just did, and what Google is doing, and what the GDRP is doing, is going to limit how much data people have, other than these other companies, these big companies. And they're going to create the AIs that power the future, and we're going to be left out if we don't start figuring out a way to capture our own data and use it ourselves,
Yeah. And going back into that, what you're talking about, your AI, this is what in the agency world, what these problems come up with. You have MiguelSanchez.com, and you want to get your analytics back, and you want to see where we're that, like what we're talking about, where that marketing money, like what campaigns were bringing you to traffic, what campaigns were bringing you to sales, and what campaigns are just bringing you absolutely nothing, right? For you to get that information could take you weeks, if not months,
if possible at all.
Because you have to hire someone, and usually it's some young kid right out of school, right, with a biology major, or no major at all, and he's sitting there, he or she's sitting there trying to figure out how to even download the data, much less make sense of it. How do I get it? How do I analyze it? How do I visualize it? What does it even mean? I don't understand this person's business. I don't understand e-commerce, and they got entitlement mentality, and they're like, someone do this for me. And you can't have that mentality. So AI, right? AI comes in and goes, yeah, scrap that. It's going to take forever to get that. Get someone who could generate the business logic, okay, that says if A occurs, then do B or C. If X occurs, then do Y and Z. And it would process all that data automatically based on criteria that you provided. And then it's like microseconds. You don't have to sit there and have someone pull that information.
And the even crazier part of that is the AI can look at the data and see stuff that you didn't even ask it to see. Like I was reading this book listening to this book about big data, and it was talking about this car company that they put sensors in the entire car, and they started to realize why one part failed because of the data they had. But the car company that figured it out, the part company had no clue why their thing was failing. So what they did was they said, all right, we have three options here. We can either just fix it in our cars, we can sell the solution to every car company, because this is happening on all cars, or we can license the solution to the part company or all of these companies. And they made a shit ton of money licensing the solution to everybody else without giving it away, how it worked. You had to use them. So they only found that out because of their own data, and they just had data coming in, and they realized it, So this is the kind of stuff that, is only possible if you're collecting data. But now what you're telling me, and Caesar, you missed it, but he basically brought something up that, so you remember we were talking about this. You remember those grants for the small businesses, right?
Yes.
So Facebook is giving money to small businesses, but to get to apply, you have to put all your company's data in their system.
Like your revenue, cost of goods sold, operating costs, all that stuff that generally no one sees.
No one
for you. Yeah.
Wow.
That still doesn't mean you're going to get the loan or the grant. Excuse me. Doesn't mean you're still going to get it.
Not even mean you're going to get it. Most people ain't going to get it, but they're collecting millions and millions of businesses' data.
That is
data.
Insane.
Yeah. So, but then there's an extra layer, which is there's this new rule called the GDRP. I forget what it stands for, but it basically eliminates the opportunity for businesses just because of the Trump campaign, where they were taking all our information and using it. So now everywhere they're forcing people to not be able to access your data. So now what that's doing is making these companies more powerful, because now Facebook is the only one with the Facebook data. Google is the only one with the Google data. But what most people don't know is Google and Facebook, they sell each other the data. So they're making themselves more and more powerful for us as businesses, that it's our data. We don't even have it on those platforms. If we're not collecting it ourselves, we have no clue what's going on and how to use it and all that. So you kind of have to figure out a way to capture your own data. And I've been working on this with a group in Nepal that does AI. This system where we can capture our own data and then run AIs on our own data, because that's what Facebook is doing. And we're not even doing it ourselves, on our own shit, So yeah, man, like that's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy. But
like paparazzi guy, right? Let's say you have paparazzi website, or what was it? No, not paparazzi guy. What's the name of the site?
It is paparazzi.
Paparazzi.
24/7 Paps.
All right, you got 24/7 Pops, right? And I'm coming on, brand new anonymous user, first time ever in my in the life of me on your audience, and I visit the Wu-Tang Clan. I visit Nas. I visit content about. Give me another one. Nas, Wu,
Rihanna, mostly
big Rihanna. Right now, I leave. Now I come back to your site for the second time. If you collected the proper information, the data on me, you can serve up a personalized experience to me that will not show anything else unrelated. It'll show stuff that you gear towards that. It'll be the same website, Pops, 247pops.com, but there will be a dynamic content that's flowed to me, so I can click.
Your boy sent us this. Remember, Caesar, your boy from AWS? He said the same thing.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, it's called dynamic sites, I think.
Dynamic site. Well, that content is served up based on that person's engagement with your brand at a previous time or previous times even, you know what I mean? Like if you go to YouTube right now, everything on the side of those videos on the side are dynamically served based on the content you viewed. And that's all done in an instant. It's not someone sitting back, having a meeting, trying to figure out, oh, these people look at this, let's serve up that. They make business criteria and bam, and that's served up. That's all another form of AI. It learns based on your engagement. And they collect that information and bam, you get served up, that's an example that's publisher related, something like you.
So this is the thing, right? We kind of went away. I told you we went away from the website thing, but now we're going to probably have to come back to it, right? That dynamic thing is something. So Caesar's friend works at AWS, and we've been talking about storing certain things on there, and he was telling us about that. But the big key, what we're trying to figure out is, because what we saw is competing against these giants for traffic is tough. Facebook and YouTube and Instagram is where everybody's eyes are. They really want to come to a website. What is the way that you've seen that helps people come to an actual website off these monsters,
Don't give them all the content on the free place. Like if they want to see the rest of the video, like let's say you have a paparazzi video, I'm just saying a minute long or something. It's really awesome content, you're right. I don't know what it would be, but let's say it's awesome content. And you push the video, you give them like a 4 or 5 second clip on, Facebook or what have you, see more, click here, and then they go to your site. Right. And then they're there for the whole minute. And then while they're there, an ad gets served and you made money from that ad. You know what I mean?
We did try something like that, right? The big difference was we were hosting the videos on YouTube, right? So I guess the only way to do that is create like an unlisted full video that is only on your website. And
or just bring it to YouTube site. There's nothing wrong with that. You can still make money. The more, because those ads being served up.
That's true. So like social media is just a clip, and then everything else is just YouTube or your website. Either way.
Yeah. Or you could probably, I don't know how this would work, but because I don't know your brand completely, but I mean have these ads, have these videos uploaded already into your social media, like intros there,
and then just for more to see that's what like Daily Mail and all these people do, right? Like
most of them do that. Like TMZ does it a lot. Daily Mail on their social media, they'll post like the beginning of it, and then if you want to see more, go to, like I see a lot on TikTok too now. They'll show like most of the videos somebody skating, and then watch what happens on my YouTube. They'll show
because at the end of the day, these platforms are like the top of the funnel. If you don't make money on the platform, what are you doing giving all the content over there? So you got to kind of have this funnel that brings people to where you actually make money. So if it is YouTube, it's YouTube. It's your website. It's your website. yeah, I mean, I guess it is. It's just more work, but it is what it is. At the end of the day,
it's more building that funnel, right? It's more building the funnel and committing to that funnel. You know what I'm saying? And making a process that everybody and trying it for a while. You know what I'm saying? And then kind of adjusting while we go.
But even that model, if you look at even that model, the ESPNs of the world, they're struggling too, right? Trying to create websites where enough people come to them where they can make the type of money to grow their staffs and stuff like that. I think
it's no sports. That's the problem, right?
No, I'm talking about before this happened. Before the industry's kind of, the CPMs and all this stuff is in flux, right? Like, because these people, what happened was they gave too much power to these platforms.
That's
and
right.
Now nobody wants to leave them.
That's
so
right.
Now, and Facebook now controls, and YouTube and all these people control, so they don't got to send you nowhere. So what happened was Facebook changed their algorithm and companies went out of business because all the traffic that they were used to getting from Facebook, gone. Right? And that's up to Facebook. Facebook gets to make that decision.
I work with a lot of publishers, man, and the publishers are just not getting the traffic they used to get. This happened around 2014, 2015, when adults were now starting to use social media as much as the children or the young people at that time. You know, moms and, parents and grandparents are now on the social media. So once 2014, 2015 came, all publishers worldwide, man, they got impacted hard. Publishers meaning like the New York Times, publishers meaning like blog.
Them, right? They're going to like subscription models because their advertising revenue is not
very low.
It's not cutting.
Even magazines right now, even like the New York Post and stuff like that, they just doubled. Last time I got a New York Post, it was like $1.25. I think it was like a year and a half ago. I think it's $2. It's like $2 and something cents. I was like, yo, they trying to rob me? You know, it's getting crazy. It's getting crazy.
I don't know how that brand's gonna be
anymore.
I don't know how they're gonna survive. I'll be honest with you. People are not gonna, especially now. You can't really touch too much stuff. A lot of these newspaper and stuff, they got to really start thinking outside the box right now, you know, and try to make it user friendly and make it, you know, consumer friendly too, you know, and figure out what's going to be that next thing, you know, and everything's going to be online.
Yeah, they're firing a lot of people too.
I bet.
They don't need them. They don't need them.
I know.
Who's buying a lot of people?
They're firing people. New York Times.
Yeah. I mean,
they don't need them.
Man, you're in a dying industry. That's what I'm worried about with being a publication online right now. Even though I do it, like I said, you know, we've done it with 24/7. I'm doing it with Bronx Exchange, Bronx Tourism. My worry though is that we gave these platforms too much power, and now it's hard to go back. You know, it's gonna be hard to get people off, or it's gonna be you only get them off to make that final sale. It's not even, and even that they're changing that. You can buy stuff straight on Instagram and Facebook now. So they're really like starting to take over the entire process and force people, the publications specifically, to not even, you know, survive. They're gonna have to pump more content into these platforms to be able to survive. So yeah, I don't know where it's going, but the advertising model of banners and all that stuff is kind of going away. I remember I built Mass Ideation, my company, on banner ads, and it's declining because now people are not on websites as much, right? And they're on social media though, you know, and a banner ad on a social media platform is very different than on a website. So yeah, I don't know where all that's going, but that's kind of where I agree with Gary Vee and all this stuff about branding. All this shit is going to change. But if they know your name, if they know 24/7 Paps, they know Cesar Pena, they know Sam, I forgot your last name, Rivera?
Yeah.
They know Miguel Sanchez, and they're like, I want to work with Miguel Sanchez. I'm going to Google that, even though my name sucks for that. But it's more likely that advertising would work, right? Because if you see me or you on a billboard in Times Square, you're like, oh shit, all right, I know that guy. But if that's the only time you ever saw me, it don't matter, you know, it's not gonna happen. So you got to hit people in like I said, 16 different places for them to really connect and be like, oh, I want to know more.
Mm-hmm.
What I feel like is happening right now is these social platforms are just too powerful, and nobody wants to leave them. They just don't. Like you see it across the board. I started last year working with influencers that were getting millions and millions of impressions on social media. I said, look, I'm gonna make your websites. I'm gonna handle the ads, and we're gonna share revenue. They couldn't get not even 1% of their audience to their website. None of them.
There's a company I know that did that called Federated Media. Check them out. I used to do work with them years back, and they do exactly that. They work with these influencers, have millions of followers online.
Yeah.
One was called the Oatmeal, which was one of my favorite brands. They manage all of the oatmeals, like money making, revenue stuff. That guy who does his art and stuff. Yep. And the reality was, man, like they weren't really bringing a lot of traffic. It's just not like that. It's just not.
Yeah, so I realized that early, luckily too, because I had investors and everything willing to give me money for it. And lucky I didn't take all the money. I tested it and realized that, because those same investors now, they're working on other stuff with us. But if I would have just took the money and not tested it, I would have learned that and been screwed, right? So like what I see now though is I'm not sure there's a way out of that. I don't know right now. I think we made these companies too powerful, and we're making them even more powerful every day. And talking about with that, now they have the business data too. Oh my God.
I think in the niche area is where the opportunity is. Speaking with the publishers, I have a vast publisher background, and when we were talking about like what's going to be the next phase with this, it's going to be niche stuff. I'll give you an example. There's a company out there called National Pig Farmer. National Pig Farmer. That publisher, they produce content, nothing but stuff relative to the porcine industry, raising pigs, and that's who they're. And you know how big their audience is? Like that. It's only a few hundred in the entire United States, and they hit up that. And you know what? If you were Merck or Pfizer, and you sell antibiotics for farm animals, and you want to hit someone up, you don't have anywhere to go. You're times that's not gonna work for you. You got to go to those niche market, and that's what I think the future would be, is like these publications, these publishers that hit up the niche market. Another good one, you guys might have heard of them, called The Hustle. It's about people like us. People are trying to grind and trying to make something happen. And as you know, out of 1,000 of us, only one actually make it. You know what I mean? 10,000, only one make it.
And that's not even counting the Hispanics. That's just entrepreneurs in general.
You know what I mean? And so like they're hitting a niche market, because we're you are a very small market in the whole community. You know what I mean? So I think, like, we're talking to these publishers, I think that approach, hitting up the niche markets or the niche audience, I think that's the key for survival for them. A New York Times, a New York Post, things like that, they're so wide, and everyone else is also reporting on that stuff. It's not going to keep them competitive. I don't know their future. It doesn't look good.
Yeah, that's kind of the stuff that we've been talking about as media. We're creating media. We're doing these shows. We're doing podcasts. We're doing stuff like that. Podcast is one of the ways I see of the future, because the CPM is very high. The engagement is very it's authentic, right? Because it's like we're talking, and if I read an ad, you're going to like more likely believe it than just hearing some other person read it, right? So I think that the podcasting thing, that's another reason why I believe podcasting is a future very high level way of creating content. But I'm starting to look at the whole website publication thing and wondering if it makes sense. The only reason I say it makes sense is because it allows you to collect your own data. The problem is you're only getting like 1% of the actual people that are on these platforms looking and consuming to come to your website. And maybe that's a good thing. Maybe you're just collecting data on people that are actually interested is a good thing. I don't know. What do you think about that?
I think definitely brand building and making yourself the leader of whatever your niche is, and running towards that, and you becoming the face of your niche, and then building that, like how we're doing it, you know what I'm saying, with the paparazzi and the entertainment and the authenticity of what I'm talking about inside the industry that people never heard of, you know, and becoming the leader of that and building that up, you know. I feel I'm excited about it because now the data I'm gaining is people that just listen to Rihanna, right, is coming back and listening to all 8 of the podcast, because they started to understand that I'm the leader of that industry, and they started to realize that, okay.
You saying people that listen to her music like on Spotify?
Yeah, so people like the fans, right? The Rihanna Navy, right? Remember, I got 1 episode just on Rihanna, but now they're going to the rest of the other episodes because they want to figure me out now.
Sure. They bought into the brand. Basically, they want to know more about the brand. Basically, branding is just storytelling, right? Which is right now what podcasting allows you to do, and a lot of what advertising is supposed to do is that too. It's like, you know, adding to the story. People don't use it that way, but the good ones do. So we're coming up on the hour, and I know last time you got cut off. How can people find you? What type of people are you looking for to work with, and anything like that, Sam?
I'm looking for anyone that has a large brand that's trying to get some analytics support, mainly on their website and/or app, and that's what I'm focused on right now. I started as a web developer, and then from web developer went into ad ops, and then from ad ops into analytics. But analytics was always there, but it wasn't a vertical within a business like it is now. It's always been something I've been working on. So I'm looking for those to do more work with those brands that need, you know, Google Analytics, and Adobe Analytics help. And that's where the money is right now. And there's like as you said, it's very technical, and you don't have a lot of resources out there. So I'm out there trying to help brands. I've done 180 integrations to date, along my career. Great references: Citibank, Nike, East West Bank, Amtrak, Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, Jamaica Tourism Board,
Nice.
you know, so those are the brands I'm trying to hit up. And you know, anyone needs help, man, this is where the rubber meets the road. No buzzwords. It says job well done. That's it.
So yeah, man. Caesar, I guess anything you want to plug? I know people seeing you, but you want to plug anything? Caesar, you heard me? No?
Yeah. I have to go closer to my internet. That thing was breaking up crazy. So I'm walking up to the. I'm getting closer.
Oh, okay.
So about to jump me right now.
Basically, I was just saying, do you want to plug anything?
If you want to hear some great stories, you know, we got the Beyond Celebrity show. We come on live every night at 9 o'clock on YouTube under 24/7 Paps.
YouTube,
or
Facebook,
just go on
Twitter, Twitch.
yeah, but you know, you could just go from the face, whatever. So it's the Beyond Celebrity show, and you could go on Spotify, iTunes, or just to listen to it, and the stories are insane. Yep.
Cool. So Sam, stay on. We're gonna talk more. But thank you everybody for watching. And if you have any questions, definitely always come on, ask them, and let's network again tomorrow, 11 o'clock. Thank you.